My image of what resistance against injustice means has always included activities like protests, marches, and petitions. However, these aren't the types of activities that fall within my comfort zone, at least not yet. Therefore, I've never considered myself a resistor at all. And honestly, that didn't leave me feeling good about myself, in a way, because I know that I oppose so much that is happening today. Imagine how happy I felt then when I recently learned here at UUCR that resistance can take many forms. I learned this primarily from Reverend Rebecca when she said that just being together here on Sundays is a form of resistance. Wow, I had never thought that our just gathering here, whether in person or virtually, is a way to resist. But when I thought about this a bit, it made so much sense to me, especially when we consider what we're actually resisting nowadays. White supremacy, bigotry against the LGBTQ+ community and immigrants, patriarchy and male chauvinism, and now even budding authoritarianism here in the United States. These forces of oppression all have at least several characteristics in common. They aim to demoralize society to the point of just giving up or acquiescing to their worldview, undermine any sense of community we may have, because it's strong communities that have the power to organize and frustrate their plans, and sow hatred, for example, by dehumanizing vulnerable populations so that they can be exploited, isolated, used as scapegoats, deported, and even worse. It's a playbook that we've seen before, but in my lifetime, I've never seen it implemented with so much planning and determination at the highest levels, even here in the United States. So it's easy to feel discouraged and, yes, demoralized in the face of such coordinated ill will and injustice. But back to what Reverend Rebecca said, our just being here is a form of opposition. We are showing that we will not back down, we will not be quiet, and we will always strive to fight hate and justice with love and inclusion. In fact, whenever we live our values, we are pushing back against all those who would try to divide and demoralize us and society in general. Let me give you two personal examples based on my time here at UUCR. My very first experience here was through a small group led by Reverend Linda and then Bonnie Bloomquist. When our group met, we often spent a big chunk of our time together listening to each other's check-ins, including the thorns and roses in our lives. It was through our check-ins and discussions about the monthly themes that I learned how to listen deeply to others and how to let myself become more vulnerable, something that has never been easy for me. With the guidance of our small group facilitator, thank you, Bonnie, we were creating a safe space, an environment of trust that enabled us to share our sorrows, joys, and hopes, all the things that make us wonderfully human. Because of the deep sense of trust that developed in our group, I soon felt more comfortable sharing about myself to a degree I had never done before with most friends and even many in my own family. In a way that I understand better now, we were engaging in a quiet but powerful resistance against all that is so hurtful and hateful these days. Those who oppress others thrive when people hide, conform, or become less compassionate. We were practicing the very opposite in our small group meetings, where we had the space to confidently show our true selves. For me, learning to be ever so slightly more vulnerable each time we met was also a joyful act in a sense of self-liberation from the emotional armor that I often wear to protect myself emotionally. It was a way for me to get more in touch with my own humanity. It was also a joy to just be together with fellow congregants having fun, sharing food, and being in community. Another community that I'm part of at UUCR is the Outreach and Growth Committee. One of our main activities is to set up a table at major events like hometown holidays during Memorial Day weekend in Rockville and the Kentlands Oktoberfest event. It's been a joyful challenge to work with my fellow committee members, especially my co-chair, Dominic, and Chloe, who always provides invaluable assistance. Being out there at these events, wearing our UUCR t-shirts with LGBTQ+ and BIPOC-themed stickers and necklaces proudly displayed on our table is really special, especially when we engage with the multitudes of visitors dropping by to ask us questions. I know for many of them, it's the first time they've ever heard of Unitarian Universalism. So it's a great opportunity to let them know what we are about and how special our UUCR community is. We have a chance to provide a counter-narrative against the institutions that promote exclusion and bigotry by explaining our principles, especially the inherent worth and dignity of each individual, interdependence, and justice. It's also an opportunity to invite people who are hungry to be accepted as who they are to join our community. Some of them are just happy to take our swag items and be on their way sometimes, but many are genuinely interested in learning more, and I know that others leave our table feeling very encouraged to know that we exist. Some even come to one of our services, and some even eventually join UUCR as members. Our presence at these huge public events must seriously stick in the craw of certain individuals or folks who'd like nothing more than for our community and much of what we stand for to just disappear. In this sense, our visibility at these events and the large numbers of people we engage with is, in my opinion, a powerful form of resistance. It's sending a message saying, hey, we're here and we're not going anywhere. Knowing this does make me quite happy, and the added bonus is that I get just as much satisfaction from all the planning and other hard work we do together as a team for these events. Yes, I would like to eventually join protests and marches. Those forms of resistance can be powerful and effective. However, in the meantime, I'll take pleasure in knowing that just by joyfully being here with you here today and participating in the life of this beautiful congregation, I'm resisting in no less an important way. Thank you.
For those of you here last week, you may remember I mentioned I was an attendee at this year's General Assembly in Baltimore. I was one of the newbies, and I admit I didn't go for the full immersion experience, but drove up and back each day, in part because of a family commitment, which I'll mention later. But in retrospect, I regret not spending at least one overnight to experience an evening worship service. The theme of the GA was Meet the Moment. The sense of urgency and how to organize and promote resistance was everywhere. As a people of fierce independence, there was no shortage of ideas and priorities to discuss and debate. But there was also a palpable feeling of love as we gathered to share our hopes and frustrations, our sadness and our joy. Of the inspiring moments that I had at GA, I'd like to focus on two that I think relate to today's theme of resistance and joy. One of the morning services I attended was the Global Worship Service, which was presided over by Reverend Morgan McLean, who many of you will remember as one of the sabbatical team that served UUCR recently, but whose day job is the Director of Global Connection for the UUA. The service included Unitarians from Canada, India, the United Kingdom, and Transylvania. The participants from the UK served as a reminder of what can happen when you live under a state religion, as the free-thinking denomination is in serious decline, with about 150 congregations with an average of 10, mostly aging members. By contrast, the ministers Lot Elikis from Transylvania, currently part of Hungary under Viktor Orban, epitomized resistance. He pointed out that their tradition has been fighting for their right to worship for 450 years, despite changing borders and governments. As with many of the events I attended, this was standing room only, and the mood was ecstatic. The second and most inspiring moment for me came in the Sophia Faz lecture, which was given by Reverend Sean Neil Barron of Fort Collins, Colorado. His lecture, The Theology of Community Organizing, was a brilliant example of how to deliver a powerful message wrapped in a compelling personal story. While I can't presume to do it justice, The story began when he was recognized in the audience of a drag show as the priest who had been blessing people in full ministerial regalia at a pride event earlier the same day. He described his initial trepidation on the expected reaction. What right did he have to offer spiritual grace to the queer community? As he continued the story, he articulated why it's important for him to resist discriminatory forces in our society, and his underlying message was, you can't organize strangers. You need to develop relationships with your community and show up when they need your support, so you can count on them to turn up when you need them. The needs of the members of different communities are not always completely aligned with yours, but they are critical to them just as our needs are to us. So we need to hear them and lean in when they call. A few other powerful phrases he used, captured in my somewhat obsessive tendency to take notes, include, you can't weaponize intimacy. There's no coercion in covenant. Movements are born of critical connections, not critical mass. And lastly, people join people. As he concluded his story, Reverend Neil Barron revealed that, in fact, the encounter at the drag show was also a moment of connection, an opportunity to broaden minds and explore new possibilities. As I mentioned at the top, I had a personal reason for not staying for Saturday afternoon and evening GA events. Our daughter got married. I mention this not for simple congratulations, but because of an interesting twist. Our daughter and now son-in-law chose to get married in something called a self-uniting marriage. This comes from the Quaker tradition. It is enshrined in law in the state of Pennsylvania, where they live. It's based on a statement of resistance to hierarchy, as the Quakers not only don't recognize the authority of any government official, but also members of the clergy, to formalize their loving commitment to each other. They simply declare it to whoever they wish to include and sign a form. While there will be a celebration of the marriage with family and friends this fall, for the actual marriage, the couple had a lovely quiet dinner with just their parents. It was their statement of independence from the expectations of society and a moment of pure joy. As we struggle through the daily barrage of troubles and search for our own authentic forms of resistance, may we not forget to find the joy in our shared love for this world.